Hello and welcome to Manga 96, and today we're going to talk about Oshi no Ko. It's really rare that the saying "don't judge a book by its cover" fits a series as much as it fits this one, as judging by the cover of the first volume, you will think that this series is just your typical Love Life knockoff, but in reality it's a commentary on the Japanese entertainment industry. From the outset, the entertainment industry looks all bright and shiny, but if you are in it and you're not a big deal in the industry, then the entertainment industry is not all shining rainbows, but the opposite. And that's exactly what this series tackles, where we got some insights in the ugly true side of the idol business, manga business, reality shows and theater so far. If that doesn't tickle your fancy, this manga also has a murder mystery with a revenge plotline to boot. For all of you isekai addicts, well, this manga isn't an isekai per se, it does have reincarnation in it, so you can get a bit of an isekai vibe when looking on the main characters of this manga. If you are worried that the quality of this manga could drop as longer it goes on, considering that it is a relatively new manga, you don't have to worry, as this manga is written by Aka Akasaka, who is the mangaka of a little known series as Kaguya-sama Love is War, and illustrated by Menigo Yokuyura, who wrote Scum's Wish, so it is in capable hands. Having said that, it's not surprising that this manga won the next manga awards, as it is an absolutely fantastic manga which you should definitely read. From here on, I'll focus on covering the main characters of this series, namely the members of the Hoshino family, where I will go over their personalities, their past and their relationship with each other. But before we start, here's the spoiler warning, as we'll be spoiling a lot of things in this video, so if you don't want to be spoiled, I would highly recommend that you go and read the manga, as it is an enjoyable read. For everyone else, let's start with Aqua. Aquamarine Hoshino was known as Goro in his past life, a medical doctor who treated patients. He developed an obsession for idols, specifically for Ai Hoshino, an idol of the defunct idol group Bikomachi. After encountering Sarina, one of his patients, who was a big fan of that group, he was reincarnated along with his twin sister Ruby, formerly known as Sarina, and is now the child of Ai Hoshino. In his new life after the death of his mother, he swore he'd do anything to fight whoever was behind it, unrelenting in his goal. Unlike his sister, many of his actions are driven by this very ambition. He's willing to do anything to get closer to the truth. Before the death of Ai, Aqua was relatively normal, where, him having the experience of his past life, he was able to do things unexpected of his age. Performing acting jobs was something he was open to and excelled at. But after his mother's murder, he was a changed man. He became cold, calculated, cunning and discreet. He transformed into a man willing to do anything to see his goal through. Despite this, he does genuinely care about the people around him. He's unwilling to let his sister become an idol because he doesn't want her to end up like their mom. He helped the new Bikomachi group in preparing for a gig so they could accomplish a task long thought impossible. He was even one of the main driving forces behind a project that served to save Akane Kurokawa's reputation. As for his past, Goro was a 30-year-old doctor and a huge fan of the idol Ai. He was a fan of her because of a 12-year-old patient of his named Sarina used to adore her, before she eventually died. When Ai was pregnant, she came to Goro's hospital to give birth to twins. Because he was in charge of her, he was murdered by an anonymous stalker and was reincarnated into Hoshino Aquamarine, the son of Ai. At the age of 4, Aqua witnessed his mother getting stabbed by the same stalker after answering the door, who later committed suicide. However, Aquamarine thinks it's more than a simple crazed stalker situation and believes the stalker had been given information about her location by someone close to Ai, which he theorizes is their unknown father, and swears to avenge his mother's death by killing him. Even in the future, this single event traumatized and transformed him into who he is today, so much so that he is seen preventing his sister from becoming an idol, afraid that the same event may reoccur. Although he did get a change of heart after Miyako Saito, his parental figure, conversed with him about it. Not long after Aqua and Ruby applied to Yoto High School, a school that offers the performing arts program, the program Ruby enlisted in. Coincidentally, Kana Arima, an acquaintance of the two siblings, was also a part of the school. Aqua reveals his intentions of joining the school as being worried about his sister, Ruby then labeling him a siscon after the fact. As for his relationship with his dead mother, in his previous life Ai was his favorite idol and he was an obsessed fan. When Goro died, he was reincarnated as her son. Despite their years living together as mother and son, he never got to truly realize Ai as a person, as she intentionally hid her true self. Regardlessly, her life and death alone made him into the person he is today. As for his relationship with his sister, he wants to protect her and doesn't want her to become an idol, as he fears the possibility of her meeting their mother's fate yet again. Because of his overprotective nature, he gets labeled as a siscon by his sister and Co. Even if both don't show it, they truly care about each other. Moving on to Ruby. Ruby Hoshino was Sarina in her past life, a patient with a terminal illness who became obsessed with idols. She, along with her new twin brother Aquamarine, formerly known as Goro in his past life, is the child of the former, now defunct Bikomachi member Ai Hoshino. Inspired by her mother's line of work, she wishes to become an idol just like her, only if her brother wasn't so overprotective of her ever since their mother's death. She is currently working with Strawberry Production to revive Bikomachi, so she could fulfill her dream along with the support of her friends. Unlike her brother, who is calm, calculated and discreet, she is the polar opposite of him. She is extroverted, outgoing, loud and the like, being the most apparent with the connection she made with others, while Aqua only does this to further his agenda. She doesn't share her brother's opinion of hunting down the culprit who killed their mother, rather moving on from that incident and focusing on her dreams. She persists in the notion to the point where she often conflicts with her brother's interest. As for her past, as Sarina, Ruby was a big fan of her no-mother, Ai. She wanted to get reincarnated as her daughter and to have a face like her. With due time, her wish gets fulfilled as she is born as Ai's younger twin. However, only a few years after that, a crazed fan takes her mother's life and Ruby loses the idol she treasured both in her previous and current life. After Ai's death, Ruby starts working hard towards her goal, striving to become an idol like her mom was. Thus, she forms her own group and gets signed by her adoptive mother's company and Ai's former idol agency, Strawberry Production. She names her group after her mother's idol group, Bikomachi, and makes a YouTube channel where she and her group upload videos with the help of Memecho, one of the idols in their group and a renowned YouTuber. They hit the milestone of 10,000 subscribers there. Later, they receive an offer from one of her brother's acquaintances to participate in one of the biggest idol concerts across the country, the Japan Idol Festival. Even though Kana, another member of her idol group, disagrees with the idea of newcomers debuting in such a prestige event, Ruby and Memecho convince her to accept the invitation. Hence, the revived Bikomachi go on to deliver their first performance on the grand stage, earning rave reviews from fans. As for her relationship with her dead mother, even in her past life as Sarina, she was a big fan of her and her work. She was elated when she reincarnated as her daughter, as she was able to get to experience her dream before her goal in becoming an idol. She was spoiled and demanded her mother's attention whenever she was around. She loved her life despite of her mother's mental state. After her mother's passing, she was determined to follow in her footsteps. As for her relationship with her brother, often she is hindered by his presence and is annoyed by his personality, as seen when he puts on a face when he first entered a dating show, those scenarios being incredibly off-putting for her and her colleagues. As time goes by, he became more and more accepting of her sister's wishes and even goes as far as to help them prepare for their gig. He disguised as peon to prevent any problems in coordinating their dances and singing. he and Ruby are closer than one might think, but not to the point where they are aware of who was who in their past lives. Last but not least, Ai. May you rest in peace. Ai Hoshino was the lead idol of the now defunct Bikomachi, an idol group affiliated with Strawberry Productions. Before her idol work, she was a bumpkin who had no professionalism and didn't try to fit in. Through the help of Kabakuri Masaya, she was able to get into the Lalalia theatrical company and from there fell in love and started paying attention to herself. She transforms into the famous idol she was. Her life took a turn when through an undetermined amount of time she became pregnant with twins. Not wanting to squander her reputation, she and her team decided to hide the fact, having to play the role of an idol and a mother. This went on until an obsessed fan was given the secretive information by an unknown source and decided to end her life, not so long after doing the deed, ending his own. Her life and death became a source of motivation for her children, arguably making her a most important character. Ruby, the daughter, wants to become an idol just like her, and Aqua, the son who wants to do nothing but find out who was behind his mother's death by doing any means necessary. Ai shown be quite joyful and always smiling even as she died. Despite this, she always had doubts about her actions and words, used lies to hide her true self. She claims that it's a form of love, but she didn't want to bring the darker side of her to her children about loving them and was happy when she said it without lying. It was unfortunately the cause of her demise, her lies about not having children. She is stated to have an open-minded personality, as stated by Goro, no Aqua. As for her past, Ai Hoshino's mom was arrested for theft when she was at a very tender age. She was the only parent I knew, so when she was thrown behind bars, Hoshino had to go live in an orphanage for the period she served her jail time. Where, when she was released, she didn't come back to the orphanage to pick her daughter up. That's why she had to stay in the orphanage and grew up within its walls. But when Ai became 12, the president of Strawberry Production scouted her out and offered her a job as an idol. At the time, she thought she wasn't fit for the job since she never knew how to love and how to be loved. Nevertheless, the president managed to convince her by explaining to her that she didn't need to know and that lying can work just as well. He gave her hope that she would be able to turn that lie into truth. What followed were 4 successful years as the face of the popular idol group Bikomachi. At the age of 16, Ai gets pregnant with twins. After hearing her manager say that the world would not be for an idol with babies at the age of 16, she decided to keep her kids a secret from the outside world instead of completely getting rid of them, since she wanted to experience what a family is like. She managed to accomplish that feat to a certain extent, as besides doing a fantastic job as the lead idol for Bikomachi, she even succeeded as an actor for a short while. She was speaking at the age of 20 without being so clumsy as to let the cat out of the bag. Where she couldn't fool one of her followers who eventually found out about it and killed her for betraying her fans. With this, I covered everything that I wanted to cover on this series. And that will be all for this video. If you like this video, leave a like, leave your thoughts in the comments below, or subscribe to the channel for more manga reviews and One Piece content. And until next time, take care.